It's a very quiet photograph. It's a person falling headfirst from the World Trade Center.
Hey guys, welcome back to UK Highland Photography. I'm Strober, and today we're going to be talking about the ethics of photography with regards to the photographer Ricahrd. Now, basically, Ricahrd, he is an American photographer and he works for a company called Associated Press. And on the 11th of September 2011, also known as 9/11, Ricahrd captured a photograph known as the Fallen Man. And this is basically the story behind the Fallen Man. So basically, on the 11th of September 2011, Ricahrd is being assigned to cover a fashion show in New York City. So Ricahrd there at the fashion show, just chilling out, talking to other cameramen, when all of a sudden his mobile phone goes and he answers it, and it turns out to be his editor, who has informed him that an aircraft is flew into one of the Twin Towers in the World Trade Center, and his editor told him to forget about the fashion show and make his way over towards the Twin Towers. So Ricahrd makes his way towards the Twin Towers, and when he arrives there, Ricahrd starts to then take photographs of the burning buildings. When all of a sudden Ricahrd hears a woman say to him, oh, look here. And Ricahrd removes the camera away from his eye, and he sees that the woman is pointing up into the sky. So Ricahrd looks up, and Ricahrd now sees people falling from the World Trade Center. So Ricahrd starts to photograph these guys in a multiple burst mode. And as he's done this, he manages to capture one image in particular that is became known as the Fallen Man. Now, the newspapers published the Fallen Man photograph like the next day or a very short period afterwards, and Ricahrd's photograph was met with a backlash of outrage from members of the public. In fact, members of the public was actually writing in to the newspapers expressing their outrage and were condemning how disrespectful and invasive this photograph in question was. Now, we don't know if that was Ricahrd's intention. Personally, I highly doubt Ricahrd intended to create this kind of offence that was actually being given with regards to the photograph. But moving on, this reaction from the members of the public forced the newspapers to not publish this photograph ever again in future publications. So, as photographers, you and me, we have to ask ourselves, was Ricahrd correct or was Ricahrd wrong to be taking these photographs that day? Now, I've got my notes here, and I'm not too sure what your thoughts are on the subject, but let me give you my thoughts. Now, these are my thoughts for why I am for Ricahrd taking that photograph, okay? My first reason is because there was nothing that Ricahrd or anybody on this planet could have done to have helped the fallen people from the World Trade Center that day. There's nothing anybody could do about that, okay? So Ricahrd couldn't help. All Ricahrd could do is stand there and witness it. Ricahrd chose to witness it with a camera, which basically now means you and I can witness what happened that day. We now understand the true extent of the horror it was that happened that day. Okay, so that's the first reason why I'm for Ricahrd taking that photograph, because again, he could not do anything, right, to help, that is. Number two, Ricahrd is a photojournalist. It is his job to document events that are happening there and then whilst he is on location. That's his job, to document the truth. And the truth of the story that day was that people were falling from the towers. Number three, it was not Ricahrd who published the actual photographs. Instead, it was the editors of the newspapers that published the photographs. Ricahrd took the photographs, but Ricahrd did not publish them. Ricahrd did not publish the photographs into the public domain. It again was the editors, his employers. Number four, Ricahrd has never been in a situation like this before. So how is Ricahrd expected to know what to photograph if he has never been in that situation before? Now, I feel that a lot of people don't understand this. That when photographers work, I mean, particularly me, I'm speaking with my own experience here. When I'm working, particularly as a photojournalist, then I don't remember every single photograph it is I take. As a matter of fact, I only remember most of my photographs when I get home and I see them on a computer. That's because when I'm on location, I go into what I call work mode. So I'm taking photographs here, photographs there, something moves over there, I take a photograph, something moves there, I take a photograph, somebody points something to me, I take a photograph, okay? And in my brain, I don't actually register all the photographs it is I take. It's only when I get home that I realise what photographs it was and what photographs I did not take. For example, I'll say to myself, oh, I didn't know I got that photograph. You see what I mean? That's because we've gone into work mode. And I feel that a lot of people don't understand that about photographers. Now, moving on, these are my reasons against Ricahrd taking that photograph that day. And the first reason is, obviously, it adds extra pain and suffering to the families of the victim that are already struggling to deal with what happened that day. And the last thing they need is to see a reminder in the newspapers of what exactly horrors did happen that day. So again, it's the families of those that are affected by it. You know what I mean, guys. So I'll just move on to point two. Number two, Ricahrd was capturing the very last moments of someone's life, okay? When the man was falling, Ricahrd was capturing that last few moments of that guy's life via shooting multi-burst shots. Now, that to me is something I struggle with. It's obvious the way it was going to end. So, should the fallen man not have had privacy? Okay? Guys, please don't start with this, oh, but Ricahrd was in a public space, there's nothing private in the public space. Don't start with that, because this scenario is clearly well different from anything else, okay? So this was the last moments of a man's life. Surely he should be allowed to have that as being a private moment as opposed to having it being shared with by a photographer. So that's my second reason as to against Ricahrd taking the photograph. The third reason is because Ricahrd could have predicted that there would have been a public outrage over this. You know, Ricahrd could have kept that photograph private. You know, he could have stored it somewhere on his own hard drive and made sure that the photograph never got published into the public domain. I mean, yes, it was actually the editors who had the final say or not whether it goes into publication. But again, Ricahrd could have held that photograph back from the publishers, and if the publishers never seen that photograph, then to the publishers, that photograph never existed. So to the world, that photograph would have never have existed. As a matter of fact, Ricahrd could have deleted that photograph. He could have deleted it, you know, oh, that's a little bit, you know, too disturbing, I'll delete that. Or, you know, he could have kept it private. So I think that point is basically, I'm against Ricahrd putting that photograph forward for publication. And the fourth reason why I'm against Ricahrd taking that photograph is simply because it's photojournalism. Anything in journalism in general is normally bad news, and the reason being is because newspapers do not sell with good news. It's only bad news that sells newspapers, and unfortunately, to me, this is making money from someone else's suffering is something that it's a business that I do not want to get involved in. So in that context, I am against it. So basically, there's my thoughts with regards to the fallen man photograph by Ricahrd. Now, in the next video, we're going to be talking about ethic decision which the South African photographer Kevin Carter made. Now, Kevin Carter's story is slightly different than Ricahrd Drew's because it's possible that Kevin Carter could have done a lot more to have helped his subject as opposed to what Ricahrd could have done, because again, Ricahrd could not have helped his subject. So guys, thank you for watching this video, as this is again video 1 of the ethics of photography. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video.
It's garnered a lot of controversy because I think people identify with it too much, that they might have had to face that same dilemma on that day.